Guess we're getting started. Julie, do you want to introduce yourself and then I'll go?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Brian. So my name is Julia. I am located in Germany. I'm working as a so-called global black belt for Microsoft. And it basically means I'm a subject matter expert for a certain kind of field, and that field is developer productivity. And we are working very closely with our GitHub colleagues, obviously also not only in the automation part, but also in the AI-assisted coding part. So this is why I'm here today, to bring you the latest and greatest about GitHub Copilot. So Brian, you also want to introduce yourself, although you're very famous already.
Oh, thanks. Oh, not really. But my name is Brian Benz. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. I've been at Microsoft for a while now, since the early days of the cloud, and really enjoying working with AI. We're working with AI and our partners in AI, like NVIDIA, Red Hat, IBM, Oracle, and others, to bring you the best. Oh, and OpenAI, of course. And some other large language model vendors, bringing you the best and the most efficient large language models and AI tools, GitHub Copilot, all kinds of things, which we're going to show you today. So actually, to get started, I think we're showing my screen right now, but we want to show Julia's or are we? Yeah, we're showing mine. So.
Yeah, we wanted to show my screen, I think. So are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, but I think we're showing the wrong screen. So let me fix that real quick. So better. So what you can see here, I am in Microsoft DevBox, and we want to show you just the basic capabilities of GitHub Copilot today, and obviously also in one of our favorite IDEs, who is obviously also Eclipse. So when I was a developer back then in university, which is almost like 13 years ago, Java was the first language I was learning, and we obviously in university we developed in Eclipse, and back then there were no AI-assisted coding, right? So here you can see Eclipse, obviously, and this is not my edge that is showing. Doesn't really matter for now. Eclipse is now also landed, GitHub Copilot has now also landed in Eclipse, and in like the most simple way for now, for the beginning, as it is fairly new. So I'm pretty sure you're all aware of GitHub Copilot Chat, which also lives with me in my favorite Java IDE. But the most narrowed down part to use Eclipse is obviously in our day-to-day coding, right? So when I am in a file, I want to GitHub Copilot to just assist me with everything what I'm actually doing. And when I'm in the flow and I'm actually coding here, I wanted to help us in all the, what is it doing? I'm sorry. There we are back. And this is the website we're currently having here. I currently have it running on localhost. It says hello JDConf. And what I want to now provide for you is that it gives us a programmer joke, just to having like being a little bit on a better mood side, right? So I'm going back into Eclipse, and I prepared this obviously. And what I now want to do is I want to give GitHub Copilot always some kind of hints what I'm actually wanted to do. The context that it provided, it is always the file that I have currently open. And in the file that I have currently open, obviously comments are like a big part of context that we can provide for our AI assisted coding. So I will close the chat for now and focus only on the file. I want to have 5 programmer jokes that change every time I refresh the page. You see, GitHub Copilot is also giving me hints what to actually write in the comment. Looks really good to me. So now I'm pressing enter, and GitHub Copilot immediately, as you can see, starts to give me suggestions how to solve the task I just described for it in the comment I just wrote. So all I can do is just click add, then it starts doing nothing. So I give it a little bit hint by starting with quotation marks, and the first joke it gives me, why do programmers prefer dark mode? Sounds good to me. Now I'm pressing enter again. It gives me another one and another one and another one. All right, now it's giving me like the same joke all the time. This is not what we want. Let's try to help it a little bit, because what AI really loves to do is following patterns, and obviously this joke is now a pattern for it. So let's try something else. What do you call a programmer in Finland? Nordic. Perfect. Ah.
Ouch. Sorry.
We're starting with a Y or how. Many programmers does it take to change a light bulb? None, that's a hardware problem. And why do programmers always mix up Christmas and Halloween? Because October 31 is like December 25. Yeah. And do we already have 5? No, let's go for one more. And now we have 5. And GitHub Copilot was so eager to count for me, because I did not count and it knew that I wanted 5. But now we have 5 jokes that we can provide in our little web API, right? So now obviously we need a random. GitHub Copilot knows that. And obviously we do not want to run on out of bounds with getting our random number. So it gives me the random index that has the maximum of the size of my jokes list. Perfect. And what I now need to do is to get that joke out of my list attached to that joke model that I have here. Whoops. So now I'm pressing S. And now I restart my little application here. I restart my little application here. Come on. Come on. Yeah, while we're writing, you see how easy that was, right? I basically typed nothing. I just needed to help it a little bit with the jokes, because making jokes is a hard task, right? So why not help our little GitHub Copilot helper here? Looks like my application is building, which is good. Going into our application again. And now we have our jokes here. And every time I reload, I have a new joke. That was fairly easy. And this was the easiest way to actually demonstrate how GitHub Copilot is working while you are just trying to do your daily work, working in a file, programming, trying to provide a context with comments, maybe also with additional files that you have opened. And with this, handing over to you, Brian.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, if we can switch to my screen. I've got IntelliJ open, and I'm going to show you a little bit about, we're going to go beyond chat completions now. We're actually going to, Copilot completions, code completions, and we're going to talk about chat. So this is IntelliJ. Inside of IntelliJ, I've got just a few plugins installed. Actually have, it's taking a little bit slow because of the processing. We've got JetBrains Assistant. That's the AI assistant that we have. And we've got Copilot and a couple others. Where are they? Oh, installed. There it is. I've got the Azure tools for IntelliJ, GitHub Copilot, and JetBrains, basically. When I go into my code now, I can use Copilot Chat. And there's 2 things I can do. There's Copilot Chat and there's Copilot Edits. Inside of Copilot Chat, I can ask Copilot. It uses the context of whatever I have here, or I can actually add a context here. So I can add the pom.xml in there and hit enter. And once that's in there, then I can ask questions about this. And I'll say, is there anything wrong with this file? I don't have to tell it what it is or anything. It'll just figure it out. And I can even misspell it wrong with this file. And what it's going to do is actually going to look through the file. And there's actually several problems. And by the way, I didn't cause these problems, but anybody who knows anything about Java and POMs or anything else might just notice something here. There's a dependency. And then it goes into this name and properties and version. A little bit of a problem here. And so there are several things it went through. It analyzed the whole POM. So basically there was something here just got dropped in the middle of the dependencies, and it basically screwed it up. But what it's done now is it's actually created a version of this that I could use. And the options I have for actually using this are, I go to the bottom here. I go down to the bottom here. I can actually copy and paste this and just put it into my chat if I want to. I can also, yeah, you can just insert the code block at the current cursor. So I could actually just select all of this. I could say insert code block at cursor, and it actually inserts the whole thing for me, but I actually don't want to do that. So let's undo that. Okay, so we'll take it back to its original broken form. We also have edits. So edits gives you a few extra options. Now, both of these have access to all of these large language models. I use Claude 3.7 Sonnet because it tends to be the best one. But GPT 4.0 is pretty good as well. And GPT 4.5 is really good too. In fact, you can use this for generating a prompt that you're going to use with 3.7 and generate the code if you're doing actual code generation. So the difference between Copilot edits is I can actually ask it the same question. Wrong with this file. And it will actually proceed to edit the file. Oh, I didn't add the file yet. Yes. So this is something that's kind of a limitation here. It doesn't actually pick up the context of what you're doing right now. You have to manually add this. Hit enter. And then ask again, what's wrong with this file? And this time, it just takes a second. At least I hope it takes a second. Sometimes it takes a little longer because we're live streaming as well. I'm going to blame the equipment. That's what I like to do. So it's going to go through here basically. Let's see. And it's going to make changes directly to the file and ask me if I want to keep them. So I can accept these changes here. It tells me again what's wrong with the file, et cetera, et cetera. I can accept this and I can accept the changes and actually updates the file for me. And as you can see, it actually changed a few things. And then I can save this file or exit out of it again as well. So that's something slightly more convenient. And I'll kick it back to Julia, who's going to show you some even cooler stuff in VS Code.
Thank you, Brian. This was also already super impressive. Let's go into another browser, another IDE that we love, which is Visual Studio Code. I hope you can see my Visual Studio Code. And as you can see, this is the same project we have been working on the whole time, basically. And there's a lot of times where I, as a developer, get like basically drawn into a project or get assigned a task that I do not really know, right? And especially when it's a legacy project, it might be, for me, hard to see what is actually going on in this kind of project. So it's super cool that I can now ask GitHub Copilot to give me an actual hint what is going on in that project. You see, I am in VS Code Insiders here currently, and I have a lot of actual parameters that I can give to GitHub Copilot to help me do my task. As you might notice, I have multiple things that I can do. I can just ask a question, as we know already from ChatGPT or github.com/copilot. I can go into the edit mode Brian just showed you, or I can also go into the agent mode, which I will show you in a bit. And I can have also so many models that I can actually choose from. And what is also new is that you can now also bring your own models. So when you have like very specific programming needs, you have like a very, very opinionated Java framework that you're working with in your organization, for example, GitHub Copilot is also there for the rescue. But for now, get back to our task. What is actually going on in this project? So, and now I use the add workspace command, which basically already enables an agent. So an autonomous AI with certain kind of, that is embedded in certain kind of coding capabilities to support me. And I can now ask, what is going on in this project here? As you can see, I'm also using Claude because with the tests that I made in the last weeks, I am pretty impressed how good, fast, and efficient it is, especially in these coding tasks. And as you can see, the add workspace command is now starting working here. It basically says that it considers the whole workspace I have just currently open in my Visual Studio Code. And it now starts to collect information that might be useful for me to understand what is going on in this project. And it is indeed right. This is like an old project where we show in the Azure samples how to actually implement the MSAL library, which is the Microsoft Identity Library in Java projects. You can see it is based on Java 8. It has like some web ends to sign in for users. We have some kind of readmes. We know from these readme how to actually configure Azure AD. So it's a tutorial project, right? But what is unfortunate is that it is in Java 8. And what I usually want to do is obviously work in modern kind of Java applications, right? So what I could now do is give it like this whole project, and it's not a small project, to actually convert it for me to Java 21. But this is maybe a little bit too much for this demo. The first thing I will now do is switch to agent mode. And then I provide context. And what I will now do, I can just also provide context on folder basis. And what I only want to convert for now is the Spring Web App. So I give a very dedicated context, what I want to do in agent mode with the model I have chosen. And now I can ask, can you convert me this project or this folder, being like precise when talking to the AI, to Java 21. Ignore documentation updates for now. And now I just press enter. And now GitHub Copilot goes in this kind of agent mode. So it is autonomous in some kind of way. I basically provided it the context, the project I'm actually working on, and especially the folder with the Spring Web App here. And I gave it a task, a dedicated task. And now it starts to actually work autonomously on its own. And it basically does that how we as developers would do it, right? At first, when we are thrown onto a new task or a new project, we analyze what is going on in front of us. What resources do I actually have? What do I then need to do? It then makes me a plan. And as you can see, every time it gives me hints what it's actually doing. So it's fully transparent to me what GitHub Copilot is currently doing. It helps me to update to Java 21. At first, it checks up if there are any, the POM files, what is defined there. And as you can see, it already starts editing. This is kind of similar to what you already saw in Brian's demo. It now picks up every single file that it thinks should be updated and modified. And the first thing that made was changing the POM, just going from Java 17 to going to Java 21. And then it says me, hey, I found 29 more POM files actually across the whole project that needs to be updated to Java 21. I will update the rest then later. And it gives me basically also every file that it is actually touched, so that I have all the time the full transparency what GitHub Copilot is actually doing, and it shows me the changes in this typical way how we see it when we compare changes, how we made them in Git, right? And then I can decide for basically every file if I want to keep this change or if I want to undo these changes. And as you can see, it's continuing working, giving me hints here and there, what actually also needs additional to be done. It tells me here, hey, Spring Boot is also updated. We need to update it to Spring Boot 3.2.4 to actually work better with Java 21. So it's also doing that. And it starts to basically list me all the changes here on the side that I see which files have been changed. And it opens every file that it actually changes. So I can also go through the files and look very dedicated what has actually been changed. And as you can see, I'm doing absolutely nothing, right? I'm just explaining to all to you what is currently going on in my Visual Studio Code. In the end, when we open the pull request or when we accept these changes from GitHub Copilot and open the pull request, obviously we as Java developers, we are still responsible that the code we provided is right. It follows security standards, it follows the standards of our organization. So don't fully rely on AI, but as you can see, it's super convenient to giving me the first hint what actually needs to be done here. And we could now start it for a lot. I think it will go on for at least 5 or 10 more minutes, but we're running a little bit out of time. So I will stop sharing my screen for now. And I think we are then here open for questions if you have some.
I got to say, it's awesome the way it builds things. And yeah, I mean, there's been all kinds of things, you know, people have a lot of discussions right now about how, you know, is this going to replace coders and, you know, things like that. And, it might someday. For now, it's not. And I think you do have to have experience with the code so that you can look at the code and find out if it's actually leading you astray or not. That's generally my experience with the code generation. So, yeah.
Yeah, we always need to be mindful, right? AI can be wrong, and we need to be aware of that. And when you cannot decide if this is right or wrong, what AI is generating, you should maybe focus not so on the AI, but on your skills first to be able to know if what AI is generating is actually right.
100%.
Okay, we do have some questions in the chat. So amazing presentation. So thanks already and good demos. So one question is, does Copilot have a persistent memory like GPT Plus has with projects so that it can learn about context? And how can we work on multiple files? Julia.
Actually, it does have not. So every time when you're giving like a prompt or a code into GitHub Copilot, it does not remember it all the way. It just uses the information you provided to generate you for the next thing that you're doing, the suggestions, but it's not saving anything at all. This is a little bit different if you use GitHub Copilot in the combination with GitHub, the platform itself, where you can store information. Then GitHub Copilot can also use these informations to generate you more insightful results for your projects.
Yeah, I'll add to that. When you're in the agent mode, what happens is it updates some files. It asks you if you want to keep them or not. And then there's a little button that says done. If you hit done, it loses the context of everything you've been discussing so far. It will keep it until that point. But after that, you're starting over again. Because, you know, people are not always aware of this, that large language models themselves have no context or no memory. They rely on the applications that call the large language models to actually keep the context and share information that's relevant for the query. Sometimes it sends a million. That's why these huge numbers of parameters are really important, because it actually sends large parameters to the large language model and keeps the context that way, so it gets reliable answers sometimes. Yeah, very cool.
Okay. And then somebody shared that the way how Copilot helps writing Git commits is amazing. I think we all agree here. And just another question, is Agent new, and when will it come to the other IDEs? Can you share something about that, Brian?
You know, they're rolling it out all the time. I don't have any insight into the timeline, but right now it's in VS Code. You know, it's going to come to IntelliJ next, and then Eclipse after that. So, yeah, just keep your eye out for it. I don't honestly know when it'll be rolled out. So,
I heard, or I'm pretty sure it will be there before build. So everyone promised me it's before build. Might be a bit earlier. So build is end of May. So it's going to be exciting time, and soon we will have like feature comparability with all the 3 IDEs. And Julia, can you share, if I don't see agent mode, is there a setting I can find to enable it already if it hasn't rolled out to me yet?
What you can always do is using Visual Studio Code insiders. There, the changes land usually the first. But if you do not see it already, especially working when you're in an enterprise environment, just be a little bit patient for the next 2 weeks. It will probably land in your IDE soon.
Okay, so good tip, just switch to the insiders version, or you can find it maybe in
If
the
you
settings.
if you want to always play with the newest, coolest changes, the insiders versions of Visual Studio Code is the way to go.
Oh, my cat is also amazed.
Sandra's cat agrees.
You have to introduce the cat if the cat is there. So I don't make the rule.
It's the time to appear, right? So thank you so much. The demo has been amazing. I can't wait to update all my old Java versions. And I also love the fact that things take a while again. Like back in those days where I did product development, I always had those time when, we ran the test and we did quality analysis, and, we had those 10 to 13 minutes where we could play table soccer games and other cool things. And now with those agents, which also take a little bit of time, we might get those timings back where we can actually do something aside, because I really felt it was helpful for the work culture. You were also able to ask questions. So, and it's in the end, it's like, it's leading into such a good, more effective way of updating things, because the projects I updated in the past, it took us days, weeks, or even months to update. Hopefully not years, but yeah, still much longer than just the agent. It's finished now, right, Julia?
Let me check in
Right.
the background. Yeah, it's actually finished while we're talking. It edited 21 files.
Wow.